One thing I'm sure of from tonight, in addition to my great appreciation to everybody who has pledged to I Do so far this evening, and we have this amazing challenge on the floor in front of us, so I really hope everyone will think about that and do everything that you can. But as I have sat there and listened to our speakers and watched the program, I thought, next year I'm going to make sure I go early in the program. This is a really tough bunch of acts to follow. And so I want to thank everyone who has spoken tonight. I want to thank everyone who is here tonight for the support you have given us over the years and for what I hope is the extraordinary support that you give us tonight so that we can meet this incredible challenge that Karen and Nan have put on the table, because every penny of it goes to support our work on behalf of LGBT people and people with HIV. There's a series of quick thank yous I want to make to our co-chairs of the event and National Leadership Council members, Natasha Haas and Bill Candelaria, our corporate committee chair, Dan Cochran, our law firm chair, Lisa Linsky, our host committee chair and board member, Todd Sears, and every single person, guests, committee members, and other volunteers, and the staff who helped to make tonight such a wonderful evening. Thank you. Yes, let's hear it for all of them. And I particularly want to thank our plaintiffs who are here tonight, Joe and Rob and Amy, for speaking about your cases. You know, it is not an easy thing to be a Lambda legal plaintiff. People have to be out in public and share all kinds of details about their lives. They're going out there in front so that the rest of us don't have to. They're going out there and enabling us to make change that affects so many more people. And so thank you so much. Now, we have right now a docket of 108 cases. Many of those cases have multiple plaintiffs, so there are hundreds of people at any given point who are plaintiffs in Lambda legal cases on a broad range of work on behalf of our entire community. And I also want to add my congratulations and thanks to our Liberty Award recipients, to Mercedes-Benz and to Tie the Knot, Justin and Jesse. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Margaret and Leah for your introductions. I wish I could talk like Leah, but I don't think it's my style. So I'm gonna stand here and be lawyerly. I want to note one thing that's a little bit of sort of internal Lambda business, but it's been very important to our movement. This month includes a pair of very important anniversaries at Lambda Legal. Our legal director, John Davidson, is celebrating his 20th anniversary at Lambda Legal and his 10th anniversary as legal director. And, oh, don't just wave, John. Stand up, stand up. And I want everybody. Thank you, John. John has led us through an amazing amount of work in progress. He leads an amazing team of lawyers, and we owe him and everyone in that department and everyone at Lambda Legal a great debt of gratitude. So thank you so much, John, and thank you all for helping to celebrate this anniversary. So originally my notes said, well, how do you say thank you for $1 million? But now I have to quickly change it and say, how do you say thank you for perhaps $2 million? So I really hope that we can hold Karen and Nan to that pledge, because I know that they mean it. The only question is, do we? This is by far the largest gift that we have ever received from living donors. It may be the largest gift in almost the entire history of LGBT organizations. It is a wonderful, wonderful thing. It multiplies the dollars that you invest in our work. And this weekend is also Karen's birthday and Karen and Nan's wedding anniversary. There are so many reasons to say I do right now and to pledge money and to cost them money. And so thank you to both of them. So I know I say this every year, but it is true every year. It is more true every year at the Liberty Awards. What a year we have had since we were here gathered in this room just a year ago. Our work has moved forward in so many areas, particularly in marriage victories, which get the bulk of the headlines and attention, but a whole range of work. And with the Supreme Court decisions last October that brought so many additional states online, so that so many additional couples, tens of thousands of couples all across the country, were able to join in the recognition, the privileges, and responsibilities of marriage. And less than a week ago, we were at the Supreme Court, where marriage cases from 4 states, including Lambda Legal's Ohio case, were being heard. I was very lucky and privileged to be in the court to hear the arguments. Mary Bonato and Doug Howard-Dreimeyer did an amazing job arguing eloquently for all of us, and we should be very appreciative and very proud of the job that they did. Another thing that was just amazing and really sort of moved the heart to be there was Donald Verrilli, who is the Solicitor General of the United States, spoke so passionately and so eloquently about our rights and our equality. Listening to him argue was like listening to poetry. Now, part of the reason it was like listening to poetry is because the Supreme Court justices don't interrupt him, so he actually got to say whole sentences, which the other lawyers never get to do. But it is really a sign of the changes that have taken place when the Solicitor General, who is like the chief legal officer of the country, is standing before the U.S. Supreme Court arguing so passionately and so beautifully for LGBT equality. This is something I thought I might see marriage long before I ever saw that. And for anybody else who was here, I see Suzanne nodding her head, and anybody else who was in the court that day, it was just an amazing moment and an amazing mark of how far we had come. So, since I came back from Washington on Wednesday, all anybody says to me is, so, what are they going to do? As if they tell me. And so I can tell you that I am only certain of 3 things. 1, they don't tell me anything until they tell everyone. 2, it is not going to be a unanimous decision. And 3, we're going to have to wait until the end of June. Those are the things that I am absolutely certain of. But I went into the courtroom optimistic that the work that Lambda Legal and our community and our sister legal organizations and the political organizations have done on marriage since we got involved in the Hawaii case in the early 90s, and also on a broader range of issues that laid the groundwork for this. The Romer case, our victory in Lawrence in 2003. All of these are incredible building blocks towards this moment, towards this case being heard, and towards this decision. And they have positioned us well for a victory. So I came out of the court with that same optimism. Not as certain as I am that it's not unanimous, but optimistic. And some of you know me, some of you have known me for a long time. I'm not an optimistic person. So when I come out of the courtroom feeling optimistic, it's a pretty good sign. Trust me on that. And check with the people that do know me. But these cases really follow a long line of work that has been building upon case after case for such a long period of time, work that all of you and people like you around the country have enabled us to do that set us up for this hearing and, I think, for this victory. So what do we do at the end of June when this decision comes down? Well, I hope that we celebrate like crazy, because any decision, any victory that comes along deserves to be celebrated. There's absolutely no question about that. And then, as we celebrate, or when we wind down from celebrating, we've got to keep working. Some of you have heard me say this before, but I think I cannot stress it enough. No Supreme Court decision, no matter how amazing, how broad, whatever, resolves the questions of a civil rights movement. I want to give a couple of quick illustrations. This year is the 61st anniversary of the Supreme Court decision in Brown v. Board of Education. It is the 42nd anniversary of the Supreme Court decision in Roe v. Wade. Now, do I really need to say more about that? No matter what the court says, the work is not done. And marriage is not the only issue that we have at the Supreme Court this year, not the only issue that affects our community. We are somewhat nervously awaiting decisions on the Affordable Care Act, about subsidies in states that use the federal exchanges. We're awaiting the outcome of a challenge to the Fair Housing Act. Both of these are cases in which Lambda Legal submitted briefs. Both of these are cases that will have a huge impact on large numbers of LGBT people. Just today, A little piece of late-breaking good news: the Supreme Court denied cert in a challenge to New Jersey's ban on the use of so-called reparative therapy on minors. Another matter, yes, it's very exciting. There was a little confusion a little bit earlier. New Jersey's actually over there. I'm from New Jersey, and I know it's across that river. But in another matter in which Lambda Legal had submitted a brief, this is a victory not only for people in New Jersey, but for young people and for all LGBT people nationwide. So I wish I could say that we have to be prepared for the backlash that will come. But the truth is, people, the backlash is well underway. Several people tonight have referred to Indiana and to the RFRA, the so-called Religious Freedom Bill, battles in Indiana. But I could give other examples, like the transgender bathroom bill in Florida, and there's similar examples on both of these issues in many other states this year. These are examples of backlash against our victories and against our visibility well in advance of a Supreme Court victory. We're going to see a great deal more of these after we have a national victory. Now, there have also been some references to Governor Pence tonight, and you can't make enough cheap jokes about Governor Pence. That's just a fact. I do too. I'm not as funny as some of the people that have spoken, but I do make cheap jokes about him. But I think I'm one of actually the last people in America who has any appreciation for Governor Pence of Indiana. His polling numbers have quite appropriately gone right through the floor. His own party is trying to figure out how to get away from him in his own state. But here's what I appreciate about Governor Pence, is that through his stupidity, his bigotry, and his mixture of dishonesty with just little bits of truth thrown in around the edges periodically, he made it clear on national television, in other kinds of media, that our opponents are out there and they are circling around, working overtime to try to figure out ways to limit our victories and to prevent our equality. Remember, the majority of states in this country do not have civil rights laws that include protections on the basis of sexual orientation or gender identity for things like employment or public accommodations or housing. And when asked whether he would support such a law in Indiana, Governor Pence said, and I quote, "That is not part of my agenda." Now, this was not a surprise when he said that, because it was pretty clear this was not part of Governor Pence's agenda. It's like, oh, there's a surprise. Okay. His agenda, and he is far from alone here, is quite the opposite. And that's why Lambda Legal's work is so important. As I said, we have a docket of about 108 cases right now. When I spoke here last year, just exactly 1 year ago, we had a docket of 91 cases. So it has grown dramatically in a very short period of time. And we get over 7,000 calls a year at our help desks all across the country. Our docket could continue to grow and grow and grow. And if we can get this $2 million from Karen and Nan, if we can hit $1 million tonight, I guarantee you that next year you will hear about a lot more cases than we have right now. A broad range of issues that affect our community, from employment and health care to students to seniors to people with HIV, people with children, people who are over-policed and underprotected, and victims of violence. The list goes on and on. And we've made magnificent progress this past year. We really have, and we should all be very, very proud of that. The victories are coming faster and faster. But we can't stop, and we can't even slow down. There is so much more to be accomplished and so much more that we are close to achieving. And I can promise you that if we all say I do, that Lambda Legal will be able to continue to be relentless in these fights until everyone in our communities is safe from police violence, safe from HIV, safe from reparative therapy, safe from bigoted governors, from employment discrimination and unsafe schools. With your generous support, and I really do believe, even without the challenge, but certainly with a $2 million challenge, Lambda Legal is the best investment you can make with your civil rights dollars. We will continue to win for all of our plaintiffs, those hundreds of people all around the country, and for every one of us. I can't thank you enough for the support that you give us. I'm thanking you for myself, from every single person at Lambda Legal, but always, most importantly, on behalf of all of the people that you enable us to serve. Thank you for everything that you have done over our 42 years of creating history and equality for LGBT people. Thank you for what you will do this evening and what you will help us to do in the year ahead. And thank you for being here.